of the Alaska. Oh, all right, let's go. Let's restart that. Okay. Well, greetings and welcome to the 49th Annual Conference of the Alaska Anthropological Association. My name is Sam Kaufman. I'm president of the association. And before we begin this morning, I'd like to take this moment and acknowledge that our association is incorporated on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina Athabascans. It is with honor and respect that we recognize the contributions and perspectives of the Upper Cook Inlet Dena'ina. What's more, this annual meeting includes research presentations conducted on the traditional lands of many indigenous cultures across Alaska and the circumpolar north. We acknowledge this not only in thanks to indigenous communities, research partners, elders, and subject matter experts who are an integral part to sustainable and holistic research perspectives, but also in recognition of historical and ongoing legacies of colonialism. I would also like to say that our association is committed to anti-racist and anti-harassment practices in anthropology, and we encourage our members to make these same commitments in their professional endeavors as well. So thank you. Well, we're meeting again virtually, which is unfortunate, but it has provided us the opportunity to invite people from across the world and increase our footprint or increase access to partners in rural communities across the state. So there has been some good, but I will speak on behalf of the board and for myself that the board is committed to returning to in-person meetings next year, and we'll keep you all up to date on our progress as we make plans to do so for 2023. With that said, this year's conference includes at least 90 presentations from the fields of anthropology, archaeology, oral history, indigenous research, and much more. We're particularly excited by the National Science Foundation's Funding Opportunities Workshop, led by Erica Hill, a virtual showcase and panel discussion led by Joshua Lynch, and a live behind-the-scenes tour of the University of Alaska Museum of the North, led by Scott Shire. This year's keynote conference will feature two speakers. The first will be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And the second on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Alaska time as well. This year, we are honored to welcome Dr. Heather Sayuk Jean Gordon of the Youth Development Program at Child Trends, and Dr. P. Joshua Griffin of the University of Washington. The two have worked extensively on the impacts climate change plays on resource sustainability, health, and well-being within indigenous communities in the Arctic. I hope you'll all be able to attend and to attend their presentations, and I hope you also enjoy their presentations as well. This year's conference includes a broad range of indigenous and non-indigenous presenters that offer unique perspectives into understanding the conference's theme, the effects of climate change. Climate change is borderless and has profound impacts on resource availability, cultural heritage, among other critical needs in not only the Arctic or the Arctic circumpolar north, but worldwide. These changes have and will continue to impact everyone. So I urge and encourage you all to attend and take advantage of as many of these presentations and discussions as you can. So, before we acknowledge this year's award and scholarship winners, I would like to say a big thank you to the entire conference planning committee. They have been diligently planning for the last 5 to 6 months to make this conference possible. And it's really without them, this conference probably wouldn't be happening. The conference planners include Ruby Freed, Maureen Gillespie, Brittany Howell, Ann Jensen, Hollis Miller, Monty Rogers, Scott Shire, Joshua Lynch, who is also our organizing chair, and Sheena Duvall. If you know any of these people, please tell them thank you, and maybe text them or chat with them. But again, a big thank you to all of those individuals. I'd also like to say thank you to the volunteers who are helping organize sessions or moderate sessions, or who are also working behind the scenes, uploading posters or making sure the Zoom links are getting sent out and everything. So thank you to them. And I'd like to also thank our generous members, member donors, and our sponsors for their continued support of not only the association, but also of the conference as well. We've had a number of sponsors return over the last several years. So their commitment to this conference is wonderful. And also to the members, it's your member dues that help sustain this this organization. So thank you. And also to member donors, also support contributing extra money to scholarship funds or the publications. Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to just thank the session organizers and presenters. It's your presentations, posters, films, dances, you name it, that keep this conference going. And without you, there really would be no conference. So thank you to all of you as well. I'd like to now turn it over to board member Scott Shire, who will announce and introduce this year's scholarship and award winners.
Great, thanks a lot, Sam. And thanks for that great introduction to the conference. So this year we had it was a great year for applications for all of our scholarships, not only the 5 that are run through the association, but then also the Christina Jensen scholarship run through the Alaska Consortium of Zooarchaeologists. So just on behalf of the Awards and Scholarships Committee, I want to thank everyone who applied, not just the winners, but everybody that chose to submit an application and allowed us the privilege to review those applications. So thanks to everyone on that front. So this year we had such a great round of applications. We had an unprecedented situation in that we're actually awarding 6 scholarships, even though there's only typically 5 available. So we had a tie for one of the scholarship programs, the James W. Vanstone PhD graduate scholarship. And so I'm going to begin by announcing the 2 co-winners of that scholarship. So first is Miranda Lazar. So Miranda is a 3rd-year PhD student in the School of Anthropology at the University of Arizona. Her research interests are centered around the ecological and cultural relationships between humans and animals, particularly birds, in the past and present. So to study this, she utilizes zooarchaeology, stable isotope geochemistry, and oral history methodological approaches. In the spring of 2021, she successfully defended her MA thesis, where she analyzed avifaunal remains from Louis Benford's Nunavut ethnoarchaeology collection. Her current PhD research examines long-term changes in seabird and human interactions on Sanak Island and the Aleutian Islands. So Miranda will be presenting a paper at the conference this week. I just wanted to highlight that real quick. So the title of her paper is Human-Bird Interactions at Palangana, Analysis of Lagopus Remains from a Nunavut Residential Site in Alaska. And she'll be presenting in the Contributed Papers in Archaeology 2 session, and her presentation is at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So hopefully all of you can make that presentation. And just want to say congratulations, Miranda, and I want to ask everybody here to sort of join me in congratulating Miranda on receiving the scholarship. Okay, and then our second winner for the James W. Vanstone Graduate Scholarship is Niels Buster Landon. So Buster is a member of the Tlingit tribe and grew up on the Lac du Flambeau Reservation in Wisconsin. He has an undergraduate degree in geology, a master's in soil science, and is currently in his 2nd year in the PhD program in archaeology at Purdue University. Buster is a Sequoia Fellow of the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, a Sloan Foundation Indigenous Graduate Partnership Scholar, and is a visiting scholar with the Sealaska Heritage Institute. Buster's storytelling focuses on fish catching technology use, innovation, and development in Southeast Alaska using the Tlingit concept of Ha'at Uwu, which translates to our sacred items. The Ha'at Uwu methodology informs and guides how the stories are told, listened to, and the future of these stories. Buster is presenting a paper this week titled A Review of the Antiquity and Distribution of Intertidal Fishing Technology in Southeast Alaska and Future Research Inquiry. He will be presenting at 11 a.m. on Friday in the Contributed Papers in Archaeology 2 session. So I want you all to join me in congratulating Buster on receiving this scholarship. Congratulations. And next up is the Thomas F. Eidel Graduate Scholarship. This year's winner is Haley McCaig. Haley's immediate goal is to earn a master's degree from the University of Alaska Fairbanks to become a qualified professional archaeologist and continue to grow in her role as a local heritage manager. During this academic process, she seeks to expand her professional network and gain important mentorship relationships while honing her sense of self as a researcher. Through her research interest, though her research interests remain broad, sorry, my phone is ringing. Mute that. Though her research interests, let's see, there we go. Though her research interests remain broad, her current focus is on the Brooks Range with a specific interest in the understudied eastern portion. So this focus includes investigating land use through a synthesis of oral, historical, and archaeological frameworks. And Haley will be presenting a paper this week at the conference titled Modified Bone Analysis of Chernovsky Village Site, Ikalga, Results of 2019 Excavations. And she'll be presenting this in the recent archaeological and historical research at Chernovsky Village on Unalaska Island session. And her presentation is at 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. So congratulations, Haley. Nice job. And next up is the John E. Lobdell Undergraduate Scholarship. So our winner this year is Erin Pamplin. So Erin is a current sophomore at the University of Washington studying archaeological sciences. She's currently working in a graduate student's lab sorting and identifying faunal remains from a site in the Old Harbor region on Kodiak Island. She's also doing an academic work exchange at the Burke Museum, where she helps implement and update various preservation methods and catalogs artifacts. So next year, she plans to apply for departmental honors and began a project researching how the Russian occupation affected the Sugpiaq people's trade networks. So congratulations, Erin. She wasn't able to be here this morning. She's taking a midterm exam, but let's all go ahead and congratulate her anyway, even though she's not here to receive those congratulations. And next up is our winner for the Stephanie Ludwig Memorial Graduate Scholarship. This year, the scholarship goes to Amelia Jensen, who is a first-year master's student in the anthropology department at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. So for her MA thesis, she's analyzing previously unidentified faunal assemblages from gold rush sites in the far north, primarily in Alaska. So by comparing sites of different sizes and purposes, she hopes to identify how domesticated and wild animals were differentially utilized in differing circumstances. A formal study of these dynamics has not been completed, leaving a large gap in our understanding of human environmental interaction in far north mining settlements. So in her thesis, she hopes to conduct one of the first zooarchaeological investigations of resource use for this time period in Alaskan history. So I ask you all to join me in congratulating Amelia. And next up is the winner of the Edwin S. Hall Jr. Student Paper Competition, which this year is Hannah Zimmerman. So Hannah is a Stanford dual degree candidate in public policy and anthropology, passionate about providing culturally appropriate community welfare for vulnerable peoples in rural and northern areas. Hannah has a broad range of experience from running a nonprofit think tank she co-founded with her friends at age 20, advising political parties in 5 nations on public communications methods, teaching civic and social issues at 5 universities and 2 NGOs, publishing a variety of pieces on political organizing and social welfare, and holding office as New York's youngest elected official. Hannah also speaks 10 different languages and is a trained opera singer. So her winning paper for this year is titled Toward a Remote Rural Alaskan Economic Indicator, an ethnographic survey examining community safety and well-being in Bristol Bay, Logayak, Alaska. And she's going to be presenting this paper at 11:40 a.m. on Tuesday in the Contributed Papers to Cultural Anthropology session. So hopefully many of you will be able to attend that and hear her paper. And so let's give a round of applause to Hannah for receiving this scholarship. And finally, I'll be announcing the two award winners for the Christina Jensen Scholarship. And the first is Amelia Jansen. So I just read her bio a few moments ago. Again, she's a graduate student here at UAF, and her project title that she won the scholarship for was her thesis topic, which is faunal analysis of far north gold rush era town sites. So congratulations again, Amelia. And our final winner is Aaron Rosholt. So Aaron is a current graduate student at the University of Alaska, Anchorage. He's working on a zooarchaeological collection from an archaeological site on Chernabura Island. Aaron is originally from Minnesota and holds both an Associate of Arts from Seattle Central College and a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from the University of Victoria. He has archaeological experience in British Columbia, California, Minnesota, Arizona, and Alaska. And his major interests include archaeological marine environments, coastal ecology, community, culture, zooarchaeology, and forestry. And Aaron's thesis project title is Faunal Analysis of a Legacy Collection from XSI 7 on Chernabura Island and the Shumagan Islands. So congratulations, Aaron, and nice job. And so those are our 8 winners from the 6 different scholarships this year. Again, really appreciate all of the applications that we got. We had a great round of applications. If you weren't a winner this year, please consider reapplying. And for all of those out there that mentor students or young professionals, please encourage them to apply next year as well. And again, next year, hopefully we'll be getting back to an in-person conference. So then that's going to open up our travel scholarships as well. So we have quite a few travel scholarships that are available for those of you that might be interested. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela Wade and Catherine Krasinski to announce the one award that we'll be handing out this year. Angie and Katie took the lead in writing up the nomination, and I'm going to turn it over to them to announce that. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott. So I'll start here and just to reiterate, this was a co-nomination with Chicxulub Native Village, and it included 5 letters of support, including from tribal governments, former students, and academics. The Professional Achievement Award recognizes individual accomplishment, leadership, and contributions to Alaskan anthropology, and excellence may be demonstrated in such areas as research and publication, applied programs, teaching, public education, exhibition, curatorship, and community engagement. The award may reflect a lifetime of creative work or come midway in a productive career. And so while we recognize Fran's professional achievement today, we also recognize her ongoing commitments and that she will continue to make positive contributions to the Alaska anthropology community and to the public in the future. And with that, it brings me great pleasure to introduce Angela Angie Wade, who is tribal citizen and Thippo at Chicxulub Native Village. And she is going to share Chicxulub Native Village's nomination letter with us today.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? All right. Do you all want to share screen? Do you want me to share screen and so you can read along with me, or no? We didn't talk about this in front of this. I'm sorry. So I'll just share screen with you. Oh no, I can't. So I guess that's the no. But I'll try not to porky pig it too much. But I'm so happy to be here today, and I need to acknowledge my auntie who has worked shoulder to shoulder with Fran in the field as well, and was part of writing this letter. She's here with us. So without laboring the point, I'll get ahead and write and read this written letter. Chicxulub Village Traditional Council nominates Fran Segerboss for the Alaska Anthropological Association Professional Achievement Award for her individual accomplishment, leadership, and contributions to Alaskan anthropology, especially applied programs, teaching, public education, and community engagement. Fran has dedicated her career to Alaskan archaeology, especially in South Central Alaska. She has a relationship with the people of the valley. She has always brought the Alaska Native community into her work. She has always worked for and with local communities. She has brought the local community into her world. We feel that Fran's own diverse background with Indigenous roots in the Great Lake area strengthens her approach to anthropology and archaeology as it relates to our respective communities. The association's Professional Achievement Award aligns with CVTC's core values. Fran represents our tribal core values in the following ways. Bakweret needs, hard work. Fran is an educator everywhere she goes, as well as an invaluable mentor to CVTC's Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. That'd be me. Fran is generous in sharing her knowledge, resources, and time. For years, Fran was the sole archaeologist meeting the Secretary of Interior's qualifications, who showed up to meetings to advocate for cultural resources and for CVTC. She was the foundation and often the only voice that state and federal officials would listen to. Through her early engagement, she helped establish better government-to-government relationships involving CVTC. Fran brought with her a sense of authority, competence, credibility, and expertise. It would have been much more challenging for CVTC to advocate to protect our cultural resources without Fran. Neldan, family relations, the one who raised us. Fran has worked with Indigenous communities in Alaska for probably over 30 years. Decades ago, she began documenting oral history from our culture fairs because she saw its importance for future generations. We are grateful she had the foresight to listen to our elders and to share her documentation with CVTC. Fran is more than the archaeologist who shows up for cultural resources. She is really caring, remembers people, and develops relationships with them. Legitimately, Fran used to show up at my grandma's table, and instead of just pumping her for information, she'd sit down and have a cup of tea. And that was my first introduction to Fran a long time ago. And so I'm so happy to be here introducing her. So, Snakai ga Enis Isen, love for children. Fran is enthusiastic about educating youth and involving them in fieldwork. Just last summer, Fran was hosting archaeology tours at a Dene village at Settlers Bay. She invited our clan grandmother, my auntie is here with us today, to the event as a storyteller for the children. It was a fun event, and the kids were so engaged with the stories and reacted with expression. Through this event, the youth learned that these stories and people are also present, and this is an ongoing culture, not one of the past alone. Hayak village. She considers ways to integrate education and youth into each of her projects. One summer day recently, she was introducing tribal youth to ancestral trees at an ancient Dene village. When a group of school children walked by, she immediately jumped up and began sharing Dene history and experiences with the group, unsolicited. Additionally, we feel that Fran has tribes and villages at the forefront of her approach when working with cultural resource documents. Glodaditi, sense of humor. We do a lot of laughing with Fran, who has a way of turning stressful situations into funny ones. Whether it be crossing rivers, walking through dense patches of Devil's Club, being stuck in a weather event, or having left important paper or gear behind at the office. I can't not giggle at this one because all of those things happened just this last year. Weli Ishlan, honesty and fairness. Fran has a deep sense of equity for tribal governments and cultural resources, as well as the lack of racial and gender diversity in the field of anthropology. Her career with the Matanuska-Susitna Borough and as a historical technical advisor for CVTC is guided by the sense of fairness for people and their culture in everything that she does. Welzet Kulit Kilas, sharing and caring. No matter how many deadlines are approaching, Fran always finds the time to support writing a response letter, doing a site check in the field, or reviewing time-sensitive documents. She has dropped many an activity to go out into the field and ensure our heritage was not being destroyed by development activities. Also, just this year, she did this. In addition to her time and commitment to CVTC, Fran is generous with her knowledge, equipment, and even field snacks. In particular, we like the minty, healthy ones. Fran. Udia Tudoko ni. Respect for elders and others. One of our tribal citizens' first memories of Fran is having tea and developing a relationship seated at our clan grandmother's table early in her career. Fran has deference for and participates in ceremonies, meetings, get-togethers, and community events with enthusiasm, respect, and gratitude. Kuitan, be wise. Fran has over 30 years of experience in anthropology in Alaska with a focus on South Central Alaska. She has a breadth of experience, including oral history, lithic analysis, ethnobotany, archaeology fieldwork, leading archaeological field schools, grant writing, cultural resource management, community outreach, community participatory fieldwork, and nominating historic properties to the National Register of Historic Places. Her wisdom is also informed by her openness to learning and curiosity and being willing to change her mind based on new information. Kotanen Kedoltsi, living Native traditions. Fran practices CVTC values such as listening and deferring to our culture bearers. Fran has been present at every potlatch she's known about, always jumping right in to assist wherever a hand is needed. Through her willingness to participate, she also adheres to traditional protocols during fieldwork, including appropriate language and respect for place before starting work. She takes on the responsibility of doing fieldwork in a good way, in the most respectful way possible. Fran recognizes the sensitive nature of oral history, place, and interconnectedness, and is a trusted gatekeeper with confidential information. Sutanet, honoring ancestors. In addition to oral history, Fran is protective of Dene cultural sites and sites of internment, whether it be as a diligent monitor at construction project sites or identifying previously undocumented sacred sites. Because of her extensive experience, Fran's mental map of these sites is irreplaceable. Sudosh niche, self-sufficiency. Fran never asks for anything and has an empowered matriarchal vibe. True story. It should not go unstated that Fran is an avid field worker who works in all conditions. Seriously, I've seen her like shovel snow before doing archaeology, which I think is insane, but she's out there. Often alone, in rain, clouds of mosquitoes, and late fall to the first snowfall. I almost froze to death 2 years ago in Talkeetna with Fran, but she was fine. Sigan Kidok. Unity. Throughout her career, Fran has worked towards her vision of an inclusive anthropology. She invites tribes to participate as soon as she has an idea for a project, consults culture bearers, and secures funding for culture bearers, community bearers, and youth. Over the years, she has really helped us understand how we are all connected, integrating oral history with fieldwork from the Matanuska watershed across the Kinnick Arm and up to the Talkeetna drainage. One area at a time, or one drainage at a time. Nakoteni ga koni delnen. You are blessed by Creator. Fran has maintained such a strong relationship with tribal citizens and community members with gratitude, and we are all blessed. Nakoteni do osta, da do okan, konik del diste. Listen, pray, Creator blessing. We would like to pass a blessing on to Fran that she receives this well-deserved award. Chenan, Fran.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to say, Fran? This is your time.
Yes, thank you very much. I was just blown away by this award. I couldn't believe that I deserve it.
Oh
Having
my gosh.
studied in the Great Lakes archaeology and worked in Michigan, when I received my master's degree, I came to Alaska ready to take on new projects. I saw an advertisement for a part-time archaeology position in the planning department of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough. It was perfect for getting acquainted with Alaskan archaeology, so I applied. When I was interviewed, I thought the two interviewers were very thorough with their questions, especially for a part-time position. I was unaware that the head archaeologist for the Cultural Resources Division had put in her notice that morning, and I was being interviewed for her position. At the time of my hiring, the planning director, John Duffy, requested that I conduct archaeological excavations. Within 3 years, I was the sole archaeologist representing MSB. Archaeology is seldom a standalone operation. It requires the dedication of many people. This award is a culmination of work contributed by numerous people. My work has been and continues to be enriched by all those who have participated with MSB in archaeology of the Mat-Su Valleys. First and foremost, I appreciated the annual grants awarded MSB through the Office of History and Archaeology that made our work possible. The guidance received from Judith Bittner and Joe Antonson contributed to my growth as an Alaskan archaeologist. Donna Lane, Russ Sackett, and Sarah Metal increased my understanding and knowledge of architectural history, enabling us to nominate historic districts and buildings in the National Register of Historic Places. Joan Dale patiently walked me through the D-Base AHRS program and subsequent programs now headed up by Jeffrey Weinberger. Richard Van der Hoek conducted workshops on outreach programs and archaeological projects for classroom activities that I adopted and used. Bob King with BLM often gave me tips on where to find historical resource information on the internet. Rita Miraglia kindly offered me information on ANCSA in order for me to have a better understanding of the Native Settlement Claims Act. James Carey and James Fall's publications and personal encouragement have been invaluable to our research, verification, and documentation of sites. In order to conduct archaeological excavations, archaeologists need bodies or assistants. By reaching out to the University of Alaska, Anchorage, David Yesner was willing to partner with MSB by offering an archaeological field school to UAA students who are unable to travel to remote locations with the university. If it were not for the infusion of university students into the Mat-Su program, archaeological work at MSB would not have occurred. Our first joint project with field school students was the excavation of Chief Wasilla House site in 1994, directed by David Yesner and Bill Workman. The site was slated for destruction by subdivision development. Prior to undertaking excavations at the Chief Wasilla House site, Paul Theodore, a Kanek tribal citizen, conducted a small ceremony to ensure a positive outcome. He also shared with us valuable information about Cottonwood Creek and the region encompassing the house and cache pits. Later, through the Section 106 process of the National Preservation Act of 1966, 3 lots were saved encompassing Chief Wasilla's house and caches. The properties were then transferred to Kanek tribe, the rightful owners. Over the years, through the MSB program, we hired numerous graduate students from UAA to help oversee student excavations. For 8 years, headed by Dan Stone, we had the opportunity to excavate the old Knik town site, a gold rush hub. Other projects included students supervising pedestrian surveys, in addition to evaluating, inventorying, and undertaking archaeological excavations. Student interns from UAA comprised about 14, and I'll read them. George Wood, he was known as Alduvai George. Peg Weston, Sherry Broden, Nita Littlefield, Rita Eagle, Jonathan Durr, Heather Ralston, Richard Martin, Sandra Petal, Nathan and Amethyst Harmston, Brian Weigel, Catherine Krasinski, Angela Wade, Ginger Cooley, Brooke Lawler, and Mahogany Magnetique. Many have continued their journeys as professional archaeologists. Field school students are too numerous to cite here. Altogether, their collective activities added to our knowledge of Dene and Euro-American settlement in the valleys. By hiring citizens from the Knik, Chicaloon, and Eklutna tribes, we were able to gain better insight into our findings. Their participation helped to enrich our program. Alfred Theodore, a Dene citizen from Knik tribe, was a constant participant in field activities for a number of years. Dedicated long-term volunteers, Lorraine Alfson and Deborah Berlinski, worked on numerous sites, showing up for rain or shine. Lorraine Wade also helped us with our excavations. Angela Wade was able to point out to me some seeds just in the recent past of that we found in the excavation. She's pointed out and identified them right away. I had no idea what they were, and she uses them in her jewelry today. Insertion of funds from the Knik Arm Bridge and Toll Authority, Kabata, enabled the MSB to continue hiring students and tribal members to conduct numerous surveys and inventory of sites in advance of bridge construction. The surveys were conducted in areas likely to be impacted by development generated by construction of the bridge. Although the bridge never came to fruition, it afforded us to add numerous sites to the archaeological record. Following their graduation from UAA, both Catherine Krasinski and Brian Weigel continued their liaison with MSB by bringing field students from University of Nevada at Reno to work on borough lands. After leaving graduate school, they came back to continue their partnership and work in the valley. Catherine offered field courses through Fordham University, New York. Brian brought students from University of Delphi, New York. Often as many as 16 students worked at Matsu properties under their tutelage. After Catherine was hired by Delphi, they both brought students to the valley, continuing the valuable work they had started years before as graduate students. Annually, they continued to participate in archaeological projects within the valley and Matanuska Mountains. When I first started work in the valley, the recorded date of Dene settlement in the region was 1650 Common Era. From work undertaken in the last 28 years, that date has been pushed back to at least several thousand years. One of my objectives when I first started work at MSB was to investigate migration routes Indigenous people used to access the valley following recession of the glaciers. The 1981 Susitna Dam project yielded a swath of dates in the upper Susitna Valley, with little to no dates in the lower valley. Over the years, we have filled in some of the gaps in the archaeological record. Through partnerships with MSB and the tribe's work, Weigel and Catherine Krasinski have accomplished has pushed migration dates at least 11,000 years BP. South of the Alaska Range at Bull Run and Broad Pass and in Trapper Creek at the Trapper Creek Oversight, signifying the entrance of people into the valley at an early time. When conducting excavations at the Knik town site, Robin Mills started sending me notices, nudging me to present at upcoming Society for Historic Archaeology conferences. Hesitant to leave my comfort zone, I ignored his requests. Then one day, 1999, once again, I received a request for the 2000 SHA conference to be held on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. An omen. After mulling it over for a few days, I decided to present on Connect Town site at the SHAs on the Queen Mary. I registered and sent in my abstract. Reuniting with the Queen, I tried in vain to search for the cabin in which I stayed when crossing the Atlantic from the UK many years before. It was the last commercial voyage of the Queen Mary, passing the Statue of Liberty. The Queen slipped into New York Harbor, 7:30 a.m. I was 19 years old. Having been processed on board and holding my permanent green card, I stepped into the US Customs with fellow immigrants at 12:30 p.m. The Queen was retiring from commercial service, but my journey was just beginning. 3 years after my arrival, I took an archaeology as my major and have never looked back or regretted it. A most recent highlight of my career was an opportunity to excavate at the Boisman site on the Sino-North Korean border. It is a Neolithic coastal site bordering the Sea of Japan within the Primordia Tiger Preserve. My participation in that project was through a UAA exchange program with the Siberian University of Vladivostok, organized by David Yesner, and afforded me the ability to go. As archaeologists, there are always camaraderie with colleagues and new horizons to discover. I bet everyone in this room has a story, be it dangerous encounters with wild animals, working in cold climates, mishaps or sites, glitches in transit to and from a site, unusual accommodations, etc. It's a continuous trip. Thank you again for this award. I am truly honored and can't believe I have it, actually. Thank you, everybody.
Well, Fran, you were one of the first archaeologists I met when I began working up here, and this is a well-deserved award. Congratulations. And congratulations once again to all of this year's scholarship and award winners. So well-deserved. Before we break for the morning, before the sessions begin, I'd like to say a few things. That these sessions are being recorded and will be uploaded to the association's YouTube channel. The posters for the poster session will be uploaded also to the website under the 2022 posters and resources page. So be looking for those. And then also the program is available with the Zoom links embedded in the program, but the Zoom links are also, or will also be available online as well. I'd also like to make a plug for everyone to come and join myself and the board on Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. Alaska time to remember those who have passed, to hear the results of our election, our most recent election, and to review and vote on this year's upcoming budget. And then also to review some other really exciting topics that the board has been up to, has been involved with over the last year. So that will be the business meeting from 3 to 4 on Friday. And before we break, I just want to also let you all know that in this room, starting at 10:40, will be the session Cloaked in Mist, the Cultural Heritage and Archaeology on Prince of Wales Island. And then in Zoom room B will be the session titled The Words We Use, the Language of Anthropology. So with that said, congratulations to Fran and all of our scholarships, and welcome. And I hope we all have a wonderful meeting. So it's great to see all of you.